Last night, I went to a panel during New York Tech Week here in NYC with 5 top minds in entrepreneurship on Twitter and social media. You know, I have this show, The Edward Show, about growth hacking, going from 0 to 1, growing really fast as well. And it's not often that I meet people who teach me things. It's really not. And that's why I have this show, because I get to teach a lot of entrepreneurs a lot of things about growth hacking and marketing. For me, that's fun. But when I learn stuff, that's very fun as well. And this panel with these 5 people had me writing down a ton. I was standing there and I was just writing so many great notes. A lot of you who listen to the show, you might have found me through TikTok, where I grow on TikTok making videos about growth hacking. And each one of these things that I wrote down from these people could be its own TikTok. Each one of these things is interesting enough to be its own TikTok. So I'm going to share them on the show. I put up a picture on Instagram yesterday of the panel, and someone DM'd me, and he's like, make a video or a podcast, whatever, about this panel. I want to hear what you learned. I want to hear what these people had to say. So that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing right now. Let's jump into it. So I'm just going to read off my notes and expound off them where I feel compelled to. So this is the first thing that I wrote. This is from Nikita Bier. Nikita says this when he's fundraising. He says, "I just say what the grand vision is up front for his startup. The year is 2030 and the app is doing this. And this as in like the fundraising round and what we're doing right now. This is just a stepping stone to get there." I thought this was really cool, because most people, when they meet investors, they tell them what stage they're currently in and what their piece of software or their startup, whatever it is, currently does. And Nikita just tells them the grand vision up front. And yeah, what we're building now is just a way to get there. 2030, this is what the world looks like. This is what our product looks like. I thought that was very smart. That's a much better way to get investors excited than to just say the little thing that you're working on right now. I think a lot of entrepreneurs have a grand vision for what they're doing, but they take too long to get to the grand vision. And Nikita starts with the grand vision when he meets investors. So I thought that was cool. Next thing I wrote, this was from Ankur Nagpal. He said, "Move fast, focus on things that matter." I think this is something that a lot of us know, but a lot of us forget. So focus on things that matter. Nikita, I think, chimed in at this point and he said, "I've never A/B tested. I've never A/B tested anything." And then Ankur was like, "Yeah, you should only be A/B testing when you have like tens of thousands of DAUs, of daily active users, or hundreds of thousands of daily active users. Then that's when A/B testing matters. But you really should just be focusing on the big things up front." And a lot of people forget to do that. That's why I put up a tweet yesterday and I said, I want to read the tweet that I put up. I said, "Why you should build in stealth. You don't want market feedback. You want a bloated product. You want to put in more effort building a following. You want to burn capital on things that don't matter." And whenever I see people on LinkedIn and they have stealth startup, you see some people on LinkedIn and they have stealth startup in the list of companies that they're working for. It just says stealth startup, and then it has that like stealth startup icon. I roll my eyes. I really do. I'm just like, okay, this entrepreneur is heading for trouble. Because when you're in stealth mode, when you're not building in public, when you're not sharing what you're doing and getting as much feedback as fast as possible, you are most likely focusing on the things that don't matter. And the only way to really figure out the things that matter is to ship. It's to ship and ship and ship and ship and iterate and iterate and iterate. And this is obvious feedback for a lot of people, but we still forget it. We still forget it. Even the ones who know this do it. So this was, Ankur, he sold his company for $250 million. Teachable. This is a valuable lesson. Ankur also said, this was great. Ankur said, "Run your company like you're going to own it forever." Run your company like you're going to own it forever. So like, be careful about who you take investment from. You want to be profitable. If you're going to own this company forever, you're not going to sell it. Your liquidity is going to come from you making money. So make money with the company. I thought that was so cool. I think Nikita then said, so many founders are just obsessed with fundraising because they think it makes them cool. And Edward, I think it's cool when founders are profitable. I think that's super cool. When founders bootstrap profitability, that's to me the coolest thing. That's why I have this show, because I don't think spending your fundraising round on Facebook ads and Google ads, IG ads, on ads, I don't think that's a very sustainable strategy. In fact, I hate that strategy. I said a few weeks ago, I had a call with Elephant VC. Elephant cuts minimum $10 million checks in bootstrapped companies or companies that have only received a small amount of angel funding. And that is a seed investment for them. They are the first investor because they do it for bootstrapped companies. And to me, that mission, that's freaking cool, because they know that if a company can get big enough, bootstrapped, to receive a $10 million investment, then the founders likely know some worthwhile stuff and will actually be able to make good use of the money rather than burning it like so many other founders do. So I really like that. When all 5 of the people on the panel were asked about how they think about fundraising, they all said they look for resourceful founders. That was cool. Here's another cool comment. This is from Nicole Wischoff. This was honestly, it's somebody I make a TikTok a day, a podcast a day. I have my weekly newsletter. That was crazy. Last night at the end of the event, someone came up to me, said he recognized me. He watches my TikToks, watch my growth hacking TikToks. He reads a newsletter every week. In fact, he just cut out all of his newsletters except for 5, and I was one of the 5 that stayed in. He's like, people don't know how much value this brings. Honestly, I was blushing. It's so exciting when that happens, because I only started a year ago. I was a ghost on social media. I didn't have anything. And then when I was living in Rome, I said, okay, I'm going to figure out TikTok. I got to Barcelona last November 1st, started the new channel, Build in Public, on TikTok. I haven't missed a single day of posting since starting that. I'm growing pretty fast, getting recognized. Like, it's amazing by cool people. This guy, he grows IG followings for famous athletes. I'm just like, this guy reads my newsletter every week. I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled. This is from Nicole Wischoff. She said, most people, they don't say their opinion, and this makes them uninteresting. So they'll tweet, beautiful day in New York today. And that's it. But you got to say why that matters. You got to say your opinion after the beautiful day in New York. You got to say like what you're going to do with that day, or why this is so great, or why it sucks. You got to say an opinion, and most people don't do that. They just state these facts without any flavor. And by saying the opinion, that's what gets people to care about you. This is from Turner Novak. I think I'm going to butcher this one, but I heard this before from Caleb Simpson. So maybe I'm not butchering it and it's still relevant. Caleb Simpson, he's the guy who goes around on TikTok and other platforms asking people how much they pay in rent for their apartments and if he can get an apartment tour. He started that because he was sick of making other people go viral. He's this videographer making other people go viral, and he said, I'm making all these people go viral. Why don't I just do it for myself? And that's what he did. And so Turner Novak, he's founder of Banana Capital. He said, I had all these meme accounts. Why don't I do this myself? And now he has a big following on social media, on Twitter, on X. So if you're making good content for other people, you can do it for yourself. And I thought that was cool because I had heard that. I'd heard that in other places. In fact, that video that I made about Caleb Simpson, that's up to like 700,000 views because people care. A lot of people, they manage social media for other people, but they could do it for themselves and make way more money, or direct their followings to their startups. So I think that's really cool. This is one of my favorite things that I wrote down from the panel. This is from Nikita Bier. Nikita has a really big following on Twitter, and his following, they're all top tech people. They're all top technology people. I first learned about Nikita. I was living in Barcelona. I was listening to the My First Million podcast, and Nikita is a friend of the hosts. And they were just cracking jokes about all the crazy bullish things that Nikita would say, and then he would do them. I'm like, who is this guy? A lot of people care about what he tweets. He's done cool things, which has helped him, but he's very good at writing. So what he said is, tweet things that 90% of people agree with and 10% of people fume at in the comments, because the 10% of people will comment, which will just really boost performance with the algorithm, but also the people who agree with it will share it, which will also boost performance. And this strategy, he said, to quote him, he said, it dominates the algorithm. And then Nicole Behnam, the host of the panel, she said, I know people who misspell things deliberately to get more people commenting and correcting them just to improve performance with the algorithm. I thought that was so funny. And that's great advice. Just write things that 90% of people agree with and 10% of people fume at in the comments. I've seen that myself on TikTok. A lot of the videos that I like or share, or that others like and share, they agree with what's being said. And then there's this small subset that doesn't, and they comment. And that's what makes these videos perform super well on TikTok. And I think it's the same with a lot of social media algorithms. So that was a great comment. One more time, it's make content about things that 90% of people agree with and 10% of people fume at in the comments. And then the last one, I don't know if I should be sharing this one, but Nicole Behnam, the host, she did share it to this enormous room. It was a crowded room. So I think I can share this story anyway. It's a story about Nicole, Naval Ravikant, and Chris Voss, the author of Never Split the Difference. So Nicole started this story. She said people, and Nicole, she already had a following at this point. She was I think a TV host, and she had a following in LA and Los Angeles, but she didn't really have a tech following. And so she said, people ignored me in tech until I got to interview Naval Ravikant on Clubhouse. And then all the people who ignored me, they wanted to be interviewed by me. They wanted to do projects with me. They wanted to be my friend. And basically what happened was this was when Clubhouse was popular. So that was 2020. And she gets into a room with Naval on Clubhouse, and she gets to speak. And she's lucky enough that she gets to speak. And she right away, she social proofs herself. She says, I have a following in Los Angeles in media. How do I translate that to San Francisco and technology? The people who are hosting the room, Naval, I guess, is one of them, gives advice. And then she says to Naval, can I interview you? And can you follow me? Which I thought that was crazy that she just straight up just said, can you follow me? I hope I'm not butchering the story. But what I wrote in my notes is that she asked Naval to follow her. And so Naval follows her. And yeah, she sees that Naval is on Clubhouse late at night. And so she gets into a room with Naval, and she's like, hey, let's do an interview. She says it again, let's do an interview. And so they do a really good interview on Clubhouse, and she's very good at hosting the interview. She will kick people off stage on Clubhouse who don't agree with Naval because he wants people who are agreeing with him. And he'll give Naval a really good experience, and then they can do more interviews together. And because of this, Nicole elevates her status in technology just a tremendous degree. And then they become friends, and she throws an IRL event, an in real life event. This story is so funny. Chris Voss is there. So Chris Voss, the author of Never Split the Difference, great book. And she tells Chris Voss, hey, listen, Naval Ravikant is coming. Naval is such a huge deal. We got to be cool, okay? And then Naval comes, and Naval says to Chris Voss, Naval goes, oh my God, are you Chris Voss? I'm such a huge fan of your book. And it was the other way around. And I thought that was such a cool story. That's, going from that I talk about leverage on this show quite a bit. I think a lot of people, they've done so many cool things in their lives, and they don't know how to leverage them properly. They don't know how to say the cool things that they've done in just a few quick words that can elevate their status enough that they can take that and then do even more cool things with that and get even more resources and opportunities with that. And this is, I think, a good example of leverage. Nicole gets into that room. She's like, hey, I have a following in media in Los Angeles. And then, they could see that, they could Google her name. But right away, that social proofs her. She uses that leverage, and then she's able to talk and get more patience from the hosts and have more of an opportunity to get them on her side, which is what she does. I thought that was a really good story. If you've done anything cool, figure out the quick ways to bring it up that are natural, not try hard, not like you're trying to flex in a way that's, you would only do it when it's natural. And you'll get a lot of opportunities that way. A lot of opportunities. Oh, and then the last thing I learned, I'm going to give a shout out to Isaac Lafer, who came up to me after the event. And so I mentioned him. I mentioned him earlier, and he grows Instagram accounts for famous athletes. And he showed me a tip about Instagram that I didn't know, which is that if you have a piece of content on Instagram that performs well, you can repost it and it will still perform well and continue to get you followers. And I thought that was such great advice. So many people, myself included, will have something that does really well on IG, and then that's it. And then you never post it again. But on IG, it works a lot better than other social media platforms to post that content again. So it can be evergreen. You have something that does well, post it again 6 months later, and then again 6 months after that. That was a cool actionable tip. I think all of these are actionable tips and stories. I really like this event. It was so much better than I thought it would be. It was packed. It was a great event. New York Tech Week is crazy. This is episode 105 of The Edward Show. This is my daily podcast about everything growth hacking, growth marketing, growth hacking stories, my stories, and the cool things that I am learning in entrepreneurship and growing businesses. Thank you all so much for listening. I will talk to all of you again tomorrow. Bye now.